Hey guys, welcome back. Now, with everyone hopeful for a big October, the election now less than 4 weeks away, it seems everyone in crypto is waiting for the next big move. Now, last week I made a video with 5 potential scenarios with what had happened in the past, which showed what may be coming our way for the rest of this year. Well, as I too also found them quite interesting, I think it's worth revisiting as we all want to know how is the rest of this year going to play out, right? And so, starting from the most bearish to bullish they are, the scenario where altcoins unfortunately could get wrecked, and why. Then, what happened to crypto the last time the Fed began cutting rates in 2019? Then, what happened to crypto in the last 2 Bitcoin halving years at this exact point? And then finish with what happened to crypto during the past US elections. And then from all of this, we can then see which one do we think is the most likely. Okay, so first up, there is something very strange playing out with Ethereum right now, which, if it continues, could signal a major sell-off in altcoins. So this was first pointed out to me by Ben from Into the Cryptoverse, and it's a very strange thing going on with Ethereum. And this also could impact altcoins, as Ethereum is a bit like king of the altcoins. And the comparison pointed out is what happened at this point in 2016 after the halving and what is going on right now. And this is basically what's going on. There's an eerie like-for-like comparison where in 2016, starting from January, 3 green months, a red month, green month, 3 red months, a green month, and so far it's also red. So you've got to be honest, this is a pretty good hit rate, and it's following it like for like, and basically it predicts that if history repeats, and this is the worst case scenario, we'll get a red October, November, and December. So I do have a couple of thoughts on this. One saving grace is that from the halving, it bottomed after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. So the actual downturn was over by 5 months. And then we started getting these big green candles. This time we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the bottom would be represented here. So this is the big month. If this can turn green and finish up, then there's a good case that this will be invalidated. And let's be honest, that's what we want to see. And then my other thought is that because there is so much good information and bullish news coming out for crypto, all things being equal, I think we'd start trending up. However, crypto is the biggest risk asset, especially altcoins. So if anything external were to happen, something like escalations with the different wars going on in the world, that could certainly cause altcoins to drop, certainly for the remainder of the year. Or if inflation suddenly shoots up, meaning the money printer can't be turned on so quickly, then definitely that could cause red as well. So there is a scenario where this continues to be red. However, all things being equal, there's still plenty of time for us to invalidate this October. But it's definitely worth keeping an eye on because it's very, very interesting how this is playing out. We can just check in and see what happened with Bitcoin at the same time. And with Bitcoin, this October, November, December was actually very strong months. So for me, it backs up the idea that I don't see a scenario where Bitcoin is going to be rallying, where Ethereum and maybe the altcoins would be crashing. If there is a panic in the world, I would think Bitcoin would be going down as well. So for me, I'd say this isn't very likely that we're going to get a crash. However, we can't have any major escalations in the world. And then final point on this, so this is the 2016 comparison, just seen a different way, where we can actually see what happened in these particular months, the October, November, December. And I'd finish just by saying this. I am absolutely happy if you were to give me a 17% decline in October, a 20% decline in November, and a negative December. I will happily take that on the chin if you continue to give me what happened the following year. If you then give me a 30% increase January, followed by 50%, followed by 200%, followed by 70%, followed by another 160%, followed by another 25%, you know what? Take your negative Q4. So even if this were to happen, it doesn't mean that it's all going to come back with interest the following year. Now, the second scenario is also a bearish scenario, and it's what's going on with monetary policy. So this is the US interest rates, and it's overlaid with Bitcoin. So on the left, this is your US interest rates, and on the right is Bitcoin's price. And now this one, for me, isn't straightforward. Essentially what it's saying is that once we'd hit terminal rates and it was higher for longer, when the Fed started cutting rates, it actually was negative for the crypto market. So essentially this is what this one is saying. Now for me, again, I don't find this such an easy take, as here you'll see interest rates were rising, but also the crypto market was rising. We have points here where interest rates are rising, but the crypto market is falling. So clearly not very helpful. Last time, interest rates were only around 2.5%, where this time they're all the way past 5%. That's a major difference. This whole section kind of is invalidated as we had the global pandemic sending rates down to almost zero for such a long period of time. Then we had a mega cycle of rate hikes and liquidity being drained out of the market. Then also factor in that last time this was earlier in the cycle. So this was all going on a good year before the halving. So it played out in a different part of the 4-year cycle, where this time it's happening after the halving, which after the halving is typically very, very bullish. So what can we say about this scenario other than it's all very confusing? There's times when crypto goes up where rates are going up, times when crypto goes down where rates are going up. Yes, it did drop after terminal rates, but this was earlier in the cycle. So for me, what's going on with interest rates isn't as important as what's going on with global liquidity. And in previous videos, we've covered in depth what happens with global liquidity and crypto, which is much more correlated. So I would just say I'm not going to pay too much attention with what's going on with interest rates. For me, it's more important to see what's going on with global liquidity. And again, if we get any escalations with wars going on in the world or a massive jump in inflation, then crypto prices could come down, and you may think it's correlated to interest rates, but not necessarily so. So it's a bearish scenario that last time it happened, it did come down, but I think there's bigger things going on. Now, number 3, and we now move to the bullish scenarios, and it's what's happened in previous halving years. With 2020 being the last one, this data for me is more important than what happened in 2016, and I'm not even going to cover what happened in 2012 as it's just too long ago. So looking at the last one, it's very clear that October is going to finish very, very strong. There'll be a massive November and an even bigger December. And just when you think your portfolio couldn't go up anymore, we go into Q1 and we have a great January, a great February, and a great March. So based on the previous halving, we've got 6 months of glorious green months coming our way. And 2016, it's not too dissimilar, though not quite as good. 15% October, pretty good. 5%, 30% for December, which is excellent. Moving into a flat January, a great February, and then your first pullback in March. But then a crazy 5-month surge after that. So 2017 was the epic year, as was 2021, and so predicted to be 2025. So for me, based on the halvings, this is incredibly bullish for Bitcoin. And what about Ethereum? Well, it's a similar picture. 7% October, 60% November, which is huge, followed by 20%, and then 4 glorious months. 80%, 8%, 35%, 45% before we get the first correction. So this saying some glorious green months coming our way. And then the one previous, as you can see, Ethereum only launched in 2015. So this data for me is not great. But as we said, in the first scenario, 2016, there were 3 negative months. And then also mentioned, this is fine as long as you give us the 6 months that followed it. So all in all, based on the halving years, this would be incredibly bullish. And then finally, with elections, if you didn't know, something very strange happened in just the last week. It had been a tie in the prediction markets as to whether who was going to win. It was very 50-50 for quite a long period of time. And then suddenly Donald Trump, or we should probably rename him Donald Pump, as let's be honest, he would be sending crypto prices to Valhalla. All of a sudden, he's taken a nice, noticeable lead. Now it's 53% versus 46%. So if Donald Pump gets elected, I think crypto skyrockets. And if Kamala gets elected, I don't think it's over for crypto. I think it still does well next year. But if you were expecting 200% returns, maybe bring that down to 100. Just rein in expectations of just how high things could be going. Though I still believe crypto is a runaway train and you're not going to stop it. Now, bringing up the Bitcoin chart, and we can see what happens to prices in the election. So this is looking at the November 2020. So this is when Biden got elected here. And as we can see, a massive move, 52%, clearly extremely bullish for crypto. And then the one previous, when Donald Trump first got elected, this is November 2016. And not quite as good, but still a nice 13% move. So not massive amounts of data, but we can say that once people know what's happening with elections, whether it's a Democrat or Republican, crypto tends to do very, very well. And obviously with Donald Trump being so pro-crypto, I think we'd see a similar move as to what happened here, which was a nice 50% move. With everyone hopeful for a big October and elections less than 4 weeks away, it seems everyone is waiting for the next big move up. The 2016 Ethereum altcoin reckoning scenario is very interesting. However, it was so early in Ethereum's journey. Let's get a big green October and invalidate this one off the list. Next was the 2019 one with the interest rates, and this one wasn't straightforward either. Now, similar to the last scenario, if we get some escalations with war, if we get some big spikes in inflation, then it's altcoins that's going to get hit the hardest. And so October, November, December could very well still be red months. Now, based on the previous halving years, if we forget everything going on with monetary policy, then October, November, December are going to be great months. And finally, I think if Donald Pump gets elected, then it'll be a one-way trip to Valhalla. However, if Kamala gets elected, then it's not necessarily all over, just we'll probably have to bring down our expectations of what we were going to get in this bull market. So probably still good, just not amazing. And a final note, however, an important point is, even in the worst case scenarios, once Q4 had passed, crypto did well, exceptionally well, in all the scenarios. So ultimately, all roads lead to Valhalla, and it's just a matter of how quickly. So there you are, guys. Hope you enjoyed. If you do have any questions or comments, leave them below. However, just remember to get rid of 100% of the comment spam and trading bots that plague YouTube comments. We are trying out the new SuperThanks Commenting system. So to get your question or comment read and replied to, or just to say thanks, then use SuperThanks below. And for now, just to say, if you did enjoy anything in the video, then drop a like. And a big thank you to everyone who does, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.